Hey there, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Thank you so much for taking your time to tune in. As I said earlier in the week, this past weekend, I did a Title Talk workshop, which is where I'm helping title agents learn to do exactly what we're doing, is learn to be able to talk to you better about things that you have questions about and things you don't understand. And so it was super exciting, successful. So many people were involved and engaged. And, we as title people work with consumers all the time, but we just haven't figured out exactly how to talk to them. And so I love the opportunity to be able to help others do exactly what we've been doing with you. And so because of that, I really appreciate when you tune in, and I also really appreciate when you ask questions, because the questions let me know, number one, that I'm getting some information to you that maybe is spurring a question, but two, it also tells me what kind of information you need to know. And so it really helped a lot talking with other title agents. We were sharing questions that they get, and that was really helpful too. And because of that, one of the things I'm talking about this week is property taxes. Hey there, Angela, how are you this morning? Thanks so much for tuning in. So we're talking about property taxes, one, because property taxes are getting ready to come due, and that tax bill will be out on July 1st. So one of the things that I talked about the other day is how the property taxes work, when the bills are paid, what they're for, those types of things. What I wanted to talk about today, because this was a question and a discussion that came up during our workshop this weekend, was why are property taxes adjusted between the buyer and the seller? Why does it look like at closing that the buyer's paying some and the seller's paying some? So let me explain this to you. It's a little bit of a confusing concept, but let me explain this to you. In every jurisdiction, the way property taxes are paid is different. So for a minute, I'm going to talk about Maryland, and then I'll flip it and talk to you a little bit about Virginia, because it's a little bit different. And if you're in a state outside of those two areas, you probably have it even a little bit different than that. But the premise is the same. At the closing, what happens is the title company will adjust. Typically, the seller may have, in Maryland, the seller will have already paid property taxes up to a certain point. So let's say you're closing today, and the property taxes, and it's a property in Maryland, and the property taxes have been paid by the seller through June 30th, because remember, the bill comes due on July 1st. So the seller has paid their property taxes through June 30th, but you're closing today. So the buyer closing today will owe the seller the remaining days of the month of June, because the seller's already paid them. So that'll be an adjustment on the closing disclosure that says the buyer is reimbursing the seller for these balance of these days that the seller's already paid those taxes. Now, in the buyer's case, on the closing disclosure where the escrows are, and the escrows, as we've talked about, is money that you pay in with your mortgage payment to the lender so they can save it until that bill comes due. So they're going to collect some money on the closing disclosure that's going to talk about, or that's going to be specifically for making sure that those property taxes are paid the next time they come due, which in this case would be July 1st. Now, sometimes the lender may require the title company hold those taxes if they come due really quickly, like within 30 or 60 days of when the closing is, because for it to get processed in the lender's program, it may get not be able to get paid back out that quickly, because there's a lot of paperwork that needs to go on. So if you're closing right now, you're going to see several different things. Now let's talk about on the Virginia side of the coin. In Virginia, they pay their property taxes after they come due, or they pay their property taxes when they come due for the period after it's expired. So when that bill comes due on Yes, when it comes due this coming July 1st, it's actually going to pay from January 1st, 2018 till June 30th, 2018. So if you're closing today in Virginia, the buyer is actually, they're collecting the money to pay that, so the buyer can make sure that's paid out of their closing money, but the seller is actually reimbursing the buyer from January 1st until today, because the seller lived there, owned that property, but the buyer is actually going to be paying for it, because when that bill comes due July 1st, it pays for property taxes that have already happened. A little bit confusing. In Maryland, they pay for them way in advance. Excuse me. In Virginia, you pay for them after the time has passed. So that's why you see an adjustment on both the buyer and the seller side, because the buyer may have paid something that the seller owes back for, and vice versa. The seller may have paid something that the buyer owes back for. So it'll look like an adjustment on both sides of the paperwork, but it's not both teams paying for it. It may be the seller paying reimbursing the buyer, and the buyer getting a credit, or vice versa. The buyer reimbursing the seller and the seller getting a credit. It just looks a little confusing the way it shows up. But that's exactly how the breakdown works. And as I said, in other jurisdictions, the timing process may be a little bit different, but the premise is the same. When you go to closing, you may be reimbursing someone for something they've already paid in advance for the balance of the time that bill is still out there. So hopefully that didn't confuse you too much, but if it did, we can talk some more anytime. Reach out to me through Facebook Messenger, through email, through directly through this broadcast, however you'd like. I'm always here to help you answer questions. That's my passion. I want to make sure that you're equipped with the information you need to make choices yourself about your closing, your loan, and the property that you're buying. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Good morning, Miss Wendy. How are you today? As I've said before, if you share the broadcast, it's really easy. Just hit that share button. We are doing monthly drawings for this beautiful coffee mug. It's a 20-ounce mug. Maybe you drink coffee, maybe you don't, but it's a nice coffee mug that's really sturdy that you would love to have. The person who has the most shares in a particular month, I'll deliver that coffee mug to you. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you want more information like this or other information on closings, you can go to the Foot Title Group website and go to the resources tab under the buyer or the sellers tab, and there's all kinds of information there. Plus right now we have a free download, which is 8 reasons why you need a house location survey, a survey on the home that you're buying. Really important information, folks. So you might want to go and download that freebie today and get some more information about that. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for tuning into Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foot Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.